episode of Maps Are Dead with Mike D. It's a podcast all about how to navigate your life when the world has run off the map and no one else can tell you what to do. You need to kind of start with rebuilding a compass all your own. You can't wait for someone else to hand you step-by-step instructions because almost no one has been the places we're going. Today's guest is one of my absolute favorite human beings and a killer professional. Katie Kennedy is a senior manager for client services at OVATIVE Group, a massive media and measurement firm right here in the Twin Cities. She spends her days running high-stakes client strategies, wrangling metrics, trying to make sure that people aren't making up stories with numbers. Today, though, we aren't talking about marketing numbers. Today, we actually have a really great conversation about the narratives we tell ourselves. This is a really honest and raw conversation. Katie is incredibly brave. We talk about how we go from being a people-pleasing high performer to someone who finds their identity in their own metrics and their own expectations. Katie also is going to talk about the importance of the wake every leader has and finding ways to build confidence in almost a passport of trust of your own. And so it's a really great conversation, and it is truly raw. And Katie's willingness to be brave and have this conversation with me, even while being a high-performing professional, is really compelling. I think you're going to really enjoy it, and I really am excited you're going to tag along today. So please follow Katie. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please give us a like, follow, subscribe. It helps us reach more people. All the metrics and algorithms care as to whether or not you actually follow us. So please give us a follow on this podcast. But more importantly, pay attention to Katie's honesty and her words and see if you can find yourself in her story. Hope you enjoy today's episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Maps Are Dead with Mike D. I'm your host, Mike Dauphiny. Thank you so much for joining us. We have unscripted conversations around how to use Clifton strengths to become a compass to help you navigate your life when the world has run off the maps. So a lot of real conversations with real people. I am incredibly excited for today's guest, a really longtime friend of mine, Katie Kennedy. Katie is you're kind of key in my life in a lot of ways. You're like family, but you're also like a professional. We've actually worked together doing branding work. Katie is she's the senior manager of client services actually at OVATIVE Group. But Katie, like, we go way back, right? Like a long time.
Way back.
I was telling somebody the other day, I was like,
at the Kennedy house.
I was like, holidays and Christmases, and people are like, are you just interviewing your friends and family? I'm like, no, but some of you aren't as lucky to be surrounded by quality professionals as I am. So
Exactly. Keep that up.
Oh gosh, I keep telling me that. So yeah, but you've been at OVATIVE Group, and OVATIVE Group is do you guys declare yourself as marketing or branding? Would you describe what OVATIVE does? You guys are here in the Twin Cities.
Yep. We're here in the Twin Cities, in the North Loop. We are a media and measurement firm transforming the measure of marketing success. So we're an
media and measurement firm.
Yeah. So
Well
we
said.
are, our end goal is to be driving revenue for all of our clients, supporting them with primarily paid media, out of home, on your computer, everywhere your customers may be found, and then measuring that journey end to end.
So senior manager of client services now. You were at Nordic Click before. You're director of communications there. So this isn't your first stop here. You look as young as anything, but you have all this experience in your life. So when it comes to this process, you've had different roles and you've navigated. And so I've watched you navigate really well. Also, you and I have worked together when I've worked with clients on branding and messaging and how you convert their message and story into a look. We were kind of doing some freelancing together. So I like how you think. And this conversation is all about anything that any of my guests are learning about moments when people couldn't tell them what to do. And you've navigated a professional career, a personal career. You're a woman. You deal with clients who don't always know what they want. You having to figure out what you want. I wanted to hear things you've taken away because I think you have a unique experience. And so I'm excited you're willing to spend this hour with me.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I want to kick off. I always like to kick off with the first question of like, if this is about navigating in a world that doesn't have directions for you, what's the first time you remember facing something that was a decision that you had to make, that there wasn't necessarily a right or wrong answer and no one else could make the decision for you but you?
Okay, so actually the first time I remember this is very, very specific. I remember being in art class in 7th grade, and I was like, and would still say I am this, of like teacher's pet, want all authority figures to approve of me, be proud of me, say glowing things to me all the time. And I always want to do everything right to my own detriment. And I remember being in Mrs. Auburn's class, and we were drawing these, like it was like a large, I was drawing a lion cub or something, like with, I don't know, oil pastels or something like that.
Okay.
And I vividly remember raising my hand, and I had gotten like pretty far in the process. I'm raising my hand and asking the teacher to come over, and she was like, "This looks good," whatever. And I was like, "What's next? What do I do next?" And she was like, "What do you think? I can't tell you." And I was like, "No, you have to tell me. I need you to tell me exactly how to do this. Do it perfectly." And so I feel like you asked that question more from like a professional standpoint, but that is the thing I thought of. And I remember being so worried about it. And I don't even know what grade I got on it, but it feels like a theme throughout my life. And especially in the last like 10 years from being out of college, just constantly coming up against those types of situations, big and small, where it's like, I want someone to tell me exactly what it is that I should do. And like, there's always so many different paths you can take, and
there's no one answer.
There's no one answer.
Yeah.
I hate
I love
that.
you brought that up though, because I think it is, again, I didn't mention your Clifton Strengths names. I've got them on the board if you're watching, but if you're listening along, developer, positivity, empathy, connectedness, and achiever in my serial killer hand scrawl back there on my whiteboard. But what's so fascinating is a conversation I had with someone, and it's the realization of a lot of our Clifton Strengths themes are established because our brains developed them to make sense of our childhood. They were affirming, and it's not necessarily even survival for some of us, but it's like we found things we liked, or we fit into our family of origin a certain way, and we have relationship brothers and sisters, and we start to, and at even 7th grade, what's interesting is figuring out that our dominant ways of thinking are established before the age of 22 for a very specific reason, and then we suddenly have almost nothing to do with that context. We don't live at home anymore, around the same people. We have all kinds of different obligations, but our brains don't know the difference. And so the rest of our life is repurposing the questions that we're fulfilling where, man, it's such a rush when somebody tells me the next step when I'm in 6th grade. It's suddenly like, but wait a minute. They told me what to do when I was young, and now they don't tell me that anymore.
Oh, yeah. And when I was at that age, I think I was in a very like homogenous culture and environment at, private Christian school, like 30 people. We all, I think in our heads had a very, very similar path charted out, even beyond like whether our 7th grade minds could really hold this beyond college. It was like, oh, we'll all probably follow the same exact path, and it'll be exactly what our parents did. And I think then stepping into adulthood and that feeling completely different, not in probably like the truest things about me hasn't departed, but like, I don't know, like the way your life and your family looks and your job and how you make your money, like all those things are totally different than what I maybe would have expected. So
what is so interesting too, I find thinking about that concept, right? Of like how we're born into a story that we think has always been going, but we don't realize that like you said, oh, well, this is what my parents or my friends' parents are doing. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And then we're going to go on and I'll do the same thing again. We don't actually know that they actually aren't even doing the exact same thing their parents did. But in our mind, they're simply continuing what we're supposed to do. We don't realize that there's these little bubbles. So then when we're off track, we're like, well, I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to do it. But no generation does.
No.
All of us are dealing with different things.
Are so different too. Like
completely.
The life options ahead of me are so different than they were when my mom was my age, when my grandma was my age, like just as a woman, as an adult, as a professional, like completely different.
And how long before that feeling of my options and my choices and my story are my own, how do you turn that into freedom and not fear?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think it flips back and forth probably depending on like my mental state for sure. And I do really try to live by the phrase of like embrace the current season of your life, because I do think um the thought of like sitting in a certain season and just not enjoying it for what it is and then looking back and going, oh, I could, like, living with regret is such a sad thing that plagues every human adult, but and child, I suppose. But so I feel like it takes a conscious effort though of choosing
Yeah.
it to be a freeing thing versus
Yeah.
a fear inducing thing. Um like the whole sentiment of your body feels excitement and fear. It's like the same
I mean, yeah. It doesn't
react.
differentiate between the two.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like your brain's job to basically tell you like, no, I'm
Yeah.
excited, I'm not nervous. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Because
Goes back.
it is a matter of definitions, right? And I mean, because even when I think about, because if we deconstruct why seventh grade Katie
Yeah.
wants the next step, one, we can sit here and judge that. Oh, Katie always wants to be told. I guess she's going to live a life waiting to be told. And we can
Right.
judge that when I'm like, and create a whole narrative. And you, of all people in your business, know what happens when people tell the wrong story with data.
Oh, yes. I'm dealing with this right now every single day, all the time, just like wrangling back incorrect narratives because they will run rampant through an entire organization and make you make really bad business decisions.
And make financial decisions about ad campaigns and communications based on what they think the data is telling them. But I think we do the same thing where it would be easy for you to have told that story. Yep, I wanted to know what was next. Oh, Katie's a person who asks questions about what's next. So therefore, she can never trust herself because she's dependent on people's questions. You should fix that.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of, I think it's finding the way to go, actually, my brain needed it. It was surprised and learned something. I'll repurpose it. It's been useful. There's something about, I think the key to finding freedom versus fear in it is like releasing judgment.
Yes. And one way I think that has helped me release judgment is, and I'm definitely an external processor, but processing this out loud with people who like know me, love me, and want me to win, whether that's people like you, people like my therapist, my parents. I'm very grateful for their input in my life. And I think I've had the gift of being surrounded by a lot of people who speak truth over my brain when my brain is telling me incorrect things. And you do have to kind of say these things out loud. I'm a big journaler. So like it becomes very obvious sometimes when you're telling yourself an incorrect narrative, especially if it's like, I would never tell my friend like, oh, you sweet
I would
dumb.
never say the things I'm saying to myself right now.
Yes, yes. So I don't know.
But it's so, just so you know, just to encourage you on the word part, I think you're right on the words. People laugh at the words and affirmations thing sometimes, or the journaling, but I will always come back to, have you ever read that Helen Keller, the Helen Keller quote? Helen Keller was the woman who was blind, deaf, and dumb.
Yep.
And she talks about, I was a formless void in the universe who didn't know, want, need, or hunger, meaning she didn't actually even understand life until someone thrust the first words into her hands.
Yes.
She said the teacher that suddenly taught her a letter, and she's like, once I had a word, I knew I was a girl. And that was a girl that existed in a space, and that space was on a planet, and that planet was Earth, and that meant I had a life, and that life had food and needs, but none of it, she said, until her brain understood words.
Yeah.
I think that we fail to realize that our words are shaping us, and we therefore can be like, oh, I'm a slave to whatever words are coming out of me, or say the words I choose and the words I anchor myself to shape how I show up.
Totally.
When 10-year back, Katie was graduating college 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Is she working as a senior manager, customer manager at an agency? Is that the dream? Like, was that the thing? Because from there to here, you're not were you, because like some people are like, yeah, I'm exactly where I plan to be and I've accomplished this and here I am. Were you? How does this look right now on this side of it at 10 years of this spot, early in your career with lots of years to go?
This is so funny because I think about this a lot recently because my job actually in many ways is probably what I did picture subconsciously. I don't think I had the language for it. So like um I visited a lot of, I would say, more like traditional creative agencies in my college courses, and did a ton of informational interviews, and always found like the world of advertising really interesting to me. And I never really thought I was quite like creative enough to be kind of the art director or like that type of person. Like
Right.
I remember seeing those floors in different, like if you went and visited Olson or like Calling
Sure.
Flaherty's, it's like all the creatives are like walking around with their shoes off and they've just got like they're just wild and crazy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm a little more type A than that, so it's probably not me. I always loved writing and storytelling, so I kind of thought copywriting maybe, and I've definitely dabbled in that through my past job and through freelance. But account management was definitely something that I was like, "Oh, I'm a pretty good like ringleader. Like
Mm,
I can lead the troops and I can keep everyone organized." And I think my confidence has grown in that over the years, growing in
yeah.
my own subject matter expertise that I really didn't
Yeah.
have coming to college. But I did envision myself in like oh, it would be cool if I worked at some shiny agency and I
Yeah.
was in this, I don't know, kind of like high powered, I'm important type of world.
Totally.
Is it what I envisioned that it would be? No, probably not. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I for sure thought Katie graduating college was for sure like, oh, I will have a couple of kids by now and I probably won't be
Mm,
working
yeah.
and I will be like
Right.
married and,
That's a good model. I mean, everybody else is right. At that point,
yeah,
everybody in that space, that's what's supposed to happen, right?
that's what everyone was doing. And
Yep.
like, that's not what everyone's doing now. And
No.
I, there's probably a world where I could have done that. And there's also the world that I'm in right now, I really love, but it's
Mhm.
also, I'm very aware of trade offs too,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for as much like freedom I have, there's also friends who are like envying that freedom that I
Yeah.
have, and I'm like envying the like not
Yeah.
freedom that they have, you know? I don't
But I
know.
think when did you become aware of trade-offs? Because I think I wanna anchor in on that for a
Mm.
second because that's a key thing. I told someone the other day, in a conversation I had, this came out. I was like, "Wow, this is like, that's useful." And I'm like, stumbled onto it. And it was this idea of he said to me, "Man, I'm on this thing that I've cared about for 3 years, but if you'd told me what it was gonna cost me, I never would have done it." And I said, "Well, I guess we don't really know how badly we want a thing until we know we're not willing to pay for it."
Interesting. Yes.
And so
Totally.
I've started asking clients with, okay, so you say you want to be this and you want to be a founder and build a unicorn company, but if I told you that you wouldn't see your children for 10 years because you're spending all your time, is it worth your marriage? Or do you want something in between? Or like, what are you not willing to pay for it? How did you develop a sense of, wait a second, yeah, I could follow someone else's path. Here's the trade-offs. Do I want to make those? When
Yeah.
are you aware of that happening for you?
Probably. So I've been at Ovative for 4 years now. I think I became most aware of those trade offs in like the last 4 or so years, maybe a little bit towards the end of my time at Nordic Click. That job was less demanding of my time than this job. I think it felt really demanding at the time, but it's all relative. Um, and I think it was like the perfect thing for me in that time of my life. And like now this is really the right thing for me. But um, I think I have become more and more aware of the limited nature of my time and recognizing the very obvious statement of everyone has as many hours in the day, like no one has more,
Sure.
no one has less. But thinking of like where do I want to be in the next 5 or so years, and is the space that I'm creating in my life and like the habits and the rhythms, are those creating space for those things?
Yeah.
Or am I saying that I would like this, but I'm not actually trading any of my time to build that into my
Mhm.
life? So things like, my personal health or like relationships in my life, or even like creative pursuits. If I'm just living more reactively to like, it's not in my top 5 anymore, but I would say it's still a pretty prominent driving force for me of like responsibility and feeling a strong responsibility to the people around me.
Yeah.
So I will make a lot of decisions based on feeling responsible to other people.
Yeah.
And
Psychological ownership of that.
yeah, totally. And so like if someone else is asking me to do something, I will, if I don't have a clear sense of what I'm trading for that, I will easily make the trade because I'm not clear on my own. What do I want my present and future life to look like? That makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Because I think, but it only comes by looking inside and deciding that your trade-off is worth more than pleasing someone else.
Yes, and you don't realize that until you're starting to go like, oh, I've been doing the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm making the healthy life choices and I'm digging into my career and like supporting my friends, but I still don't feel like it's moving me in the direction I want to go. And when you feel like you're spending, like you're trading your time for that and it's not giving you the outcome that you want, you start to
The
go
boss
like,
is happier. They're all saying I'm doing great.
yeah,
I get lots
they're
of
all
kudos,
happy,
but you're like,
but I'm not. Yeah.
yeah. And so, a book for me that was super impactful was Facing Codependency by Pia Mellody.
Oh, this sounds great.
it's I recommend it to everybody, and it goes through all the different types of things, facing codependency, because I think at our core, we're all addicted a little bit to other people's opinions and our own, and it's like codependency is a real thing. That's people pleasers. But for me, the big takeaway was, because I'm a people pleaser as well, was this understanding that people pleasing is the most manipulative way to live your life.
Oh, I believe that.
Because because her whole thing to me was, when I was reading, it's like, she's like, you don't understand. See, you're not being real. You're actually lying to them because you actually don't want to do the thing, but you think you can manipulate them into feeling and responding to you a certain way by your behavior. Even your people-pleasing behavior is manipulation of their reaction, because you bought into the lie that my control of them to feel something about me is a response to my value.
Yep. Ouch.
And I was like, oh, I'm the bad guy in this story. I'm the villain. I'm not the victim. I got that wrong. That's the hero, villain, victim triangle in codependency. I'm like, I always thought I was the hero. Yeah, no, I'm the villain in this story.
Oh my gosh. It's so true though. Yeah.
And when so then the shift in conversation becomes, wait a second. I actually need to control me. What do I want? How do I authentically give that? They may or may not like it, but they're in a relationship with me because it's real. And by the way, handing my identity to them and say, here, Katie, here's my identity. Tell me what you see. Instead of going, actually, I know who I am.
Yeah.
Put my identity back in my own chest and not put it in your voice and your acceptance and your fear and letting it be on the inside of me. I was like, that takes some work, because my survival in the first 20 years of my life was about, this is the hard part. I wish we could all grow up in perfect families that are not dysfunctional.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Mine's pretty good, but
it'd be great.
We're still in a tough spot.
When you're young and your brain is developing, you don't want exclusion. And so we somehow think that our behavior can control an adult world.
Yeah.
Make them happy, smile, like us.
Oh yeah.
They'll respond well. They'll give us what we want. They'll feed us. They'll give us the dinner we want. They'll let us stay out with our friends. We trick ourselves into thinking, but then we leave home and realize the real world isn't manipulated by us.
No.
And we're confused.
No. Yeah. And the illusion of control is what's like giving me gray hair. Like I continue to believe that I can do that, and just put a ton of energy into it. And it doesn't work.
But what's interesting in that mix, even like the control thing, is that, because I asked a coach once, I'm like, I find myself reaching for control. And his response to me was, we reach for control when we feel fear. We reach
Mm.
for curiosity when we move towards love.
I love that. Yeah.
And so how do I and so it's funny, I see developer on your list, which reminds me of a conversation I was having with a mutual friend of ours who's getting married, actually, a couple getting married this fall that, might be related to.
Waves.
In the midst of that, but we were talking about future and people like, young married couples. I'm not married, neither are you, but they're
Right.
talking about like what they want to be because they look around at people who've been married a long time and they wonder about if that will be them or not.
Yeah.
How do we not, Uncle Mike? Hey, Uncle Mike, how do we not end up there? And I was telling them, I said, you know what? I would encourage you to think of it as, instead of having anti-vision of what you don't want to become and how you control to not become that, instead shifting to what if you made a commitment to?
Yeah.
And the developer in your profile for me shows up. I'm like, man, I have a commitment to growing. That's going to look like a whole bunch of different things versus, man, I don't want to be stuck.
Yes. Yes.
The fear of I have to control my career so I don't get stuck versus actually I need to control, am I constantly choosing to be in places that let me grow?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A commitment to versus a commitment to not have something bad happen, because that's a fear that never goes away, that can't be managed with.
Right. I love that. And I think I probably haven't had the language to say what you just stated, but that rings very true. You had said to me once, um, in one of our many like career soul searching
Or
conversations,
conversations and coffees and lunches.
yeah. You had said like, Katie, you need new things, you need a challenge, and you need people. And like that has
Mhm.
been a really good anchoring thing for me. And I
Yeah.
have realized some of the times in my career when I have felt the most frustrated is when I'm not seeing like forward development, whether
Mhm.
it's like I'm not
Yeah.
getting the promotion that I want to get, or I've been working on the same account for a really, really long time. And like, it doesn't necessarily feel easy. Like I still
Yeah.
have a challenge, but it's not moving forward. It's like you're kind
Yeah.
of just on this hamster wheel of challenge. Um,
And that's a good that's developer. That's a developer. And so for if people, as people are listening to this, part of the conversation then is understanding that if you're feeling frustration, developer, and you have developer in your top 5, it is almost always because, one, either you're not growing, or here's the other thing, your definition of growth has become outdated.
mm, yeah, yes,
You
which
can
for
outgrow
people,
your definition of growth, right?
yes. Oh, completely. That has been very true of me. Or if like the thing that you're growing towards that you think is what you want, and if it's not happening, then you have to pick a different like
Yeah.
growth focal point, if you
Yeah.
will, and like to be able to like measure your own
Yeah.
growth against, I
And the
guess.
hard part too for me is the realizing that so much of my growth no longer gets me applause because the most of it's on the inside now
Oh
at
my gosh, yes.
51. When you get
Yeah.
dropped, when you go from Nordic Click to, OVATIVE, we're like, wow, we saw you. You're clearly growing in your career, Katie. But
Mhm.
when you tell so-and-so they can't talk to you that way and they need to get accountability deadline, nobody shows up and says, good job, Katie. You held them
Oh,
accountable to performance. You're a great team leader.
no, absolutely. I mean, like, it's just the expectation now, and, like,
Yeah.
I've talked to my manager a lot about this, is it's like the farther up you move in an organization, like,
Mhm.
they're not saying like, "Yay, you really nailed that." It's like, "Yeah, you did your job. Good job."
Yeah.
Not a good
And
job.
letting
Did your job.
and growth becoming internally and redefined. And I think
Mhm.
learning, stepping into that. Katie,
Yeah.
in the process of this, as you've grown, I had someone say one time that we all come to a point where we renegotiate our relationship to our profession,
Yeah.
where some of us are fortunate and we get to have a profession that is not only our profession, but it's our profession, but it's also our purpose.
Mhm.
Other times, our vocation, our profession is a vehicle to our purpose and
Yes.
our vehicle to our options. But I think we need to renegotiate that at times. There's times when at different parts of our career, how have you walked that journey of going, it was a vehicle versus a calling? Okay, now before, I've got to stuff meaning in. I've got to feel certain way about my job, to going, I need something that gives me the options of
Yes.
family. It gives me the options on the trade-off. And that means I commit to it, but I don't commit to it different. How have you navigated in a 10-year window your relationship to your profession?
Yeah, I think it definitely vacillates, which I think it probably should, between is this like a vehicle or is this a,
Mhm.
what was the other thing you said?
Kind of a vehicle or a calling almost.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Um,
vehicle to get me somewhere or something I should focus in because it gives me something while I give to it.
yes. Because I don't think going into, I mean, I kind of fell into digital marketing. Like I had
Yeah.
done a bunch of, and I don't even know if people really call it digital marketing anymore, like paid media, like that kind of thing, whatever.
Well, we'll call it what we call it.
Yeah. 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 I kind of just like landed there, not super intentionally, but from doing a lot of, informational interviews, talking to different people. And it felt like the right move, probably, I mean, developer, because I was like, this is where I'm going to learn the most. I think I would
Mhm.
learn a ton here in this particular environment. And that actually drove part of my decision moving to OVATIVE too. So this is very eye opening. But um, there have been many times where actually a lot more of the time than I would like to admit, that I'm, like, not particularly passionate about,
Sure.
the
And
specific work that I do. Like,
yeah.
I have said in more apathetic moments, like, I could really take or leave it, but there are
Yeah.
elements about this job and the place
Yeah.
the environment that I work in that are giving me what I'm looking for right now,
Yeah.
and I have more recently thought through more of, like, my calling is super ambiguous, but just, like, focused more on the relationships that I have with other
Yeah.
people, and because I'm in a position where I have an opportunity to impact a lot of people's day-to-day life, and, like,
Mhm.
the job itself, I'm not, like, super jazzed about making sure all these, you know, these
God,
companies.
I love doing ads for outdoor
Yeah, I'm
gear and da
like,
da 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 da.
I don't know.
Maybe,
Sometimes
maybe
I
not.
get a little too lost in the numbers of it all, and I'm just like, I don't know. This is about people for me at the end of the day,
Mhm.
and if part of my job is, like, helping people who are in this job and they are really passionate about paid search and, like, they're really jazzed about this, if I can make their day better by bringing structure, by bringing energy and positivity, if I can help point them towards the goal, if I can make their day-to-day interactions with the team and help them feel like part of the team better, then I feel like I am living my calling. And, like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes I get a little, maybe this is the maps thing. Like sometimes I get a little hung up, even very recently, of like, is this, if I wanted to go somewhere else,
Mhm.
am I so far down this path where any other job is going to be like, well, you have to be a director of paid media. Like that's like what you have the skills to
Yeah.
do. So that is what you're going to do. Where I have often thought, if and when I move on from Ovative, like it probably won't be in this specific job. Like I think I would want to do something totally different. I have no
Yeah.
idea what that is.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of that through line of uh creating better days for the people around me and like helping other people feel like they're part of a team and they're really valued and they're
Mhm.
really seen is what makes me more excited.
It's the ability to, I mean, and just to back that up, that really is good purpose. You know, Gallup talks a lot in their well-being surveys when they ask people to identify the individual with the greatest impact on their overall well-being,
Hmm.
other than their spouse or partner, the individual with the greatest impact on their overall being, other than spouse or partner, they always 67% of the time, 67%, they name team leader.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I do workshops, I'll tell people all the time, I said, hey, I'm here to have you know your strengths and be more engaged and healthy at work. But if you're a team leader, and I make them raise their hands, if you have direct reports in this room or you're a creative team leader like yourself, I say,
Mhm.
"Hey, real quick, do you have people who look to you for leadership?" I'm like, just so you know, there are kids tonight who will struggle with their homework because you made their parents' lives crap.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We take home and treat our families certain ways because someone at work misunderstood us. I said, there are spouses waiting who are crying about waiting and wondering if they're going to get to start a family but they can't answer that question because they've asked you, when is the promotion or when's the next revenue cycle? And you think you're just doing revenue numbers and here's your next step in the foot. And they're going, we said we'd start a family when this happened, but what did your boss say? We disconnect our work from the wake that we leave on families and people at home
Wow.
who are being led by us.
Oh my gosh. I feel so empowered by that because it does feel like kind of a corny purpose to be like, well, if this person
No.
can have a better day, but it is meaningful. It's very important.
Gallup's research shows it's the critical thing. It changes the impact. It
Yeah.
changes the engagement. They would say 70% of an employee's engagement. I think it's 70, which means that aside from money and everything else, 70% of whether or not you actually love your job, come early, stay late, and will stick in it, is actually in the person you report to.
Wow. My gosh.
You have less illness. You actually will go to the doctor less if you like your boss.
Wow.
You will actually, if you have a best friend at work, you are likely, it's the stats are pretty nuts on what it does for engagement. If you work for somebody that you feel does two things, sees you and lets you do what you do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it's so funny because my world exists in the 50s and 60s and 70s with your parents, my parents, and my grandparents. They worked for companies forever that paid them incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
They usually stayed in their companies for a long time, and their life was outside their work.
Mm.
They were right. They had the Greek Americans Club. My grandparents were part of the Italian Americans Club. They went to bowling leagues, softball leagues, church events, women's auxiliary. Their lives were outside their jobs.
Uh-huh.
Then we broke the model and stopped giving pay raise increases because of stock stuff in the 80s and 90s, and the pay stops growing, so you can't quite live on that. So pay's not increasing. Along comes people like me. This is where my job comes from, this 90s, going, you can find motivation at work. You can make your job purpose and find meaning. So now instead of me paying you more, you're going to have a 401k you have to match for yourself, and we're going to tell you to find deep purpose in jobs. And I'm realizing that now the world is shifting. Your generation and Gen Z are going, yeah, it's kind of a lie.
Yeah.
I want a job. I need income. This is not just my life. I am hunting for purpose and I need more options. And so when you're talking about, I may not love the work, I do love knowing people are healthier. I want you to hear from me, that's a real purpose and a sign that you're doing your job well, and not something to be like, oh, I've got to work past this.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, and it is, especially thinking of, the working world that my dad started in and my papu, like it's very separate. Like you
Different
don't
worlds.
bring your work home. And like, I think about work all the time, like all the time. And I'm working in my bedroom right now, like everything is just, the lines are completely blurred. And so yeah, if you don't have I think one of the things you had said too is it's like if you have a best friend at work, it's like
Best friend at
I
work.
have a few really, really good friends at work who I think of them. I was just talking to one of my peers and we were talking about how it's like a competitive advantage that we have each other, that we can both sit in the same job and bounce that experience off each other and hold each other accountable to being better, but also to not being so hard on ourselves. And I don't know, there is so much more depth and meaning that you can get out of work now, but it also is it's a hard thing when it becomes so big in life.
Gallup's research on just the impact of having a best friend at work, the actual stats on employee turnover, productivity, profitability, and customer service reports, having a best friend at work, the data on that alone, if you could sell it, it would be more valuable than it has hard actual business impact. If you said that to anybody, they're like, best friend at work seems warm, fuzzy, and soft. The reality is it would the multiple on actual performance. You'd be like, buy it now. You'd be like, I'll pay any price, because there's nothing on the market that has a consistent impact as that engagement. And I think for you, it's so fascinating to think about. This is why even thinking about your future, again, this is partly a coaching call, right? Kind of the thing is that thinking about the future is that I think it's okay to say you may not work in the same space, because and in the old world would say you would have to be in paid search to do X, director of paid search in order to do whatever. This is all you're qualified for, good UX because of your resume. I actually would say at this point, your ability to take a group of people that needs to understand both customer and delivery and tell a story and then deliver on a project, that's the role. And it could be anywhere. You could be doing hospitality communication. You could be doing leadership development. You could be running a coaching company. You could be working for a tech corporation. Because the reality is, as long as there's people, there's a target, there's a story to be told, and these human beings need to be functioning and growing, you could lead that.
Mm.
That's the role, not I know how to spend $10 and get 20 clicks.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel ready.
Right, and you should. But I think, I'm like, because that's the things that we don't realize, it's the old Karate Kid movie. We don't realize what it is. We don't know our natural talents.
Yep.
But we also don't realize that, with all due respect, we're not that special. Good leaders who know how to grab a group of people, be clear on a target, create accountability, and people that are healthy and growing are needed everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can do that internally at a company, like OVATIVE, or you could do the exact same thing as a founder of a company.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question that I'm always scared to ask it? And I've actually used this example. I'm like, I've asked to always you are in an industry square in the bullseye of artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah, sure are.
And so, one, I know in general, as a woman who's not married, 10 years away from college, who, family, like, you're not married with all these children, and what's your career look like? People will ask those questions, all the pressures of being something. Then let's tack it on top of it. You're a professional in a career where everyone who loves you is going, is your job going to go away because AI is replacing you? Like, are you living in fear every day? Like, I'm like, man, we just slapped a whole nother level of crap onto your story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What comes up for you? Because you literally are in a measurements, like you said, we do media and measurement, like in a world that is so AI focused, and you're thinking, I'm 10 years into a career that will look nothing like what I started 10 years from now.
Oh, totally.
How do you show up in that? What comes up for you as you face that as a professional?
Yeah, I think I give OVATIVE a lot of credit for facing this head on and being very intentional about our team is going to be the team, or our company is going to be the team who knows how to use this and use it as well as possible. Because I'm sure a million people have said it by now of like, your job is not going to be taken by a robot, like your job, or by AI. Your job is going to be taken by somebody who knows how to use AI. And so
that's the hook right there.
Yeah, that's it. And like, I think what AI creates is we've already been moving really fast in the world, and this makes us move even faster. And so can you keep up with that, and can you harness it as a tool and also be smart about using it and not just like blindly accept the output because it's not correct. Because you still need humans to tell a story. But I will say, as a person who is, I would say, pretty good with my words, I use AI all the time to help me like make this clearer, because I think one of the biggest values it provides is without weighing down another person who is also really busy, you can ask somebody else, for like a robot, for a second set of eyes on what you're about to share with someone. And like, I think a second set of eyes is always valuable, especially in a age where we have so much information coming at us all the time, and being able to get clear and succinct stories to the right person. I have found AI very powerful for that use. And I mean, like, everyone is using it at OVATIVE for way smarter ways than I am, and like building all of these cool tools that just like make what we're doing even better. So I'm really not worried about it. There's obviously the ecological environment.
I mean, the water usage. I mean, I'm going. Hopefully, AI is smart enough to figure out how to solve the problem of its own existence.
I would hope so. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm holding out hope they figure out how to do this without having to suck dry the Mississippi.
Yeah, can't be that hard. Come on.
Surely you can solve the big problems. What is interesting, and even what you're saying, is that some of what AI even does for me in clarification is in helping me get better at asking questions in some ways. We actually launched this week, Circle Community, for people that want free access to like our coaching calls and information. And so again, for those of you watching, just so you know, there'll be a link down bottom. with like free tiers and paid tiers and all that. But so anyway, we're sending out an email announcing this circle community. And the first email, we're sending it to our VIPs and current coaching clients. Hey, free access to this set up for you. And so it's an email series. And so we put it all together. And again, my EA Rick uses AI really, really well and went through. And I always like to tune it to my voice. I have a bot that's tuned to my voice. I'm like, hey, give this a Mike D tune. And so they do. And so it's like, Mike, this is great. To your point, Mike, this is great. And it goes through and it clears up. Here's a version of that sounds like you. And it's terrific. And I'm like, awesome. So I pasted it into the doc to send back to Rick. And then I was like, hold on real quick. And I went back and said, it's great. You said, real quick, will it make people want to sign up? Oh, no, not at all.
You're like,
it literally is like, oh, no, it's very clear, but it's like an info. It's not going to create any urgency, nor let them know they probably should sign up sooner. And so I was like,
gosh,
okay. And I realized, well, could you give me a version of this that'll actually make them want to read the email and then sign up for it?
mm-hmm.
Of course. And it made a little tweak. It was like, you put this time. It didn't change much, but I suddenly realized I am sloppy in asking for what I want. And one of the values is learning, wait, I should ask a better question.
Yeah. Critical thinking is the most valuable skill in the world right now. Because, I mean, what like the back and forth that you're describing is very similar to like if I was working with a new hire who was my direct report and they're trying to like send something to the client and they send it to me and I'm like, okay, this is really good. Like, you know, your classic compliment sandwich. This is really good. This is not going to deliver anything. Like we need to make sure that this is blah, 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 blah. And this is good too. Now go back and then come back here. Cause I think some of the biggest mistakes that we make with tools like AI is just accepting what it spits out. And like, you're just moving, like you can't move that fast. You got to slow down and go, is this actually delivering?
Well, one thing I was reading the other day is, and again, you have to really, I've decided to make the studying of AI critical for what we're doing because there's great response from coaching. Clifton Strengths, by the way, is a terrific tool to be used with AI because the data because the 34 themes are well defined. And so we teach our clients now how to leverage AI tools and Clifton Strengths to understand how to communicate with each other. They create actual language. It's pretty amazing. We'll talk more about that. But the fun thing, this article is fascinating because most people don't realize, I'm an AI geek, majority of what we call AI, the big models from Anthropic to ChatGPT and even Gemini, they're large language models, right? Mm-hmm. So basically they've learned they've learned language and they're doing predictability. So the more data it's trained on, the more predictable it is. But there's other versions, which I wish I can think of the name of it right now, that are more about reason and less about language model, but it wasn't as fast and it wasn't as dialed in.
Yep.
And so the world hasn't gone there. And what you don't realize is if you simply trust these models, they're like, the model will tell you what the most common theory has been. What if your whole goal is to have unique genius that doesn't just fit the model?
No.
And if you don't trust yourself, you're gonna start shaving off the parts of you that are unique. Well, because it has basically a PhD in marketing in your pocket, but it's just telling you what it's learned from other PhDs. That doesn't necessarily mean that it matches your genius, right?
Oh my gosh, totally. How is it going to tell you when there's no map to what you're trying to do? It's just looking at past experience. Yeah.
Because it's assuming. It's really making that assumption about what that means.
Yeah.
You know, if you could go back, tell 10-year back Katie, who's graduating Bethel last May or about to this May.
Wild.
You're like, listen, you need to remember this to save yourself some pain or to give yourself some encouragement or freedom, whatever. I don't know what it would be. Cause I'm like, it's not a matter of like, you don't have anything, but it's like, if you're like, man, I would love to a Katie who's listening today in this space, what you know about yourself, but also how you relate to your professional and personal world. What is something you're like, man, if I could have somebody come and sit with me and tell me this, man, I would just be so grateful.
Oh my gosh. I feel like there's like a million things. But the first thing that comes to my mind that I think has been a hard learned lesson is that I can trust myself. I think that is what I would have told myself is you can trust yourself and like trust the timing of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I I continue to do this, and it's something that I try and stop myself from
Yeah.
doing, but wasted a lot of energy on like second guessing myself, and it has been very funny seeing other people who I really respect say back to me, and they're like, "What?
Of course you
Are
can.
you kidding? Like, you know what you're doing?"
Of
And I'm
course.
like, no, I don't, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, just earlier today, I was talking to my boss about this of like reflecting back on my last 4 years of one of like the first bits of feedback that my manager had given me was like, yeah, she's doing a great job, but she needs some more confidence in what she's doing. And like,
Yeah.
um, I think I am pretty dependent on other people telling me like, yes, you've got this, or like, you know what
Sure.
you're doing, or you're doing a good job or whatever. But I think if I had learn to find that within myself earlier, that would have been cool and
Yeah.
helpful.
It
Yeah.
would have been, it would have been
Yeah.
cool and helpful, but it's so funny, Katie. I was even describing this, like somebody asked me the other day, because, I take clients to Patagonia and we're taking our next group
Yeah.
in March. And somebody's like,
Oh,
you keep going back to Patagonia, like same place, whatever. And I was like, I said, I need to remember that I'm strong. They're like, wait, what do you mean? And I had this phrase running through my head. I went last March. On a little notice, I took off, called my buddy in Chile. He's like, let's go hiking somewhere. And went
yeah.
back to Patagonia in some place. And this phrase was running through my head 4 days while I was on the trail. Confidence is remembered, not conjured. Like, you
Mm.
have to remember it.
Yeah.
And so even as there's an element of it would be cool to go back and tell yourself, hey, trust yourself. But there's something about the fact that like you trust yourself because you can remember that you can trust yourself. Like there's
Yes.
no escaping the experience of it, of going, I tried and was vulnerable and it worked. Ooh, good job.
No. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Because even if I would have told myself at that time, I don't think I would have been like locked in. Yep, got it. Yes. Like
Oh
I
yeah. Now
still
I didn't
couldn't.
believe. Now I believe.
Yeah, no, not at all. I do think it's like going through challenging experiences, um, and coming out the other side of them, or like watching myself do hard things
Mhm.
has made me, um, I think I have often lived most of my life very impressed with other people and not very impressed with myself. And I think there's like a lot of
Sure.
value to, you don't
Internal
want,
narrative.
yeah, you don't want a ton of pride, but like, but
Humility is
also
not a terrible
going,
thing.
yeah, totally. Like also going like, yeah, I've ran 2 marathons. Like I can
Mhm.
do hard things. And
Yes.
like, um, I've gone into conversations with CEOs and like not looked like an
Yep.
idiot. Like I know what I'm doing. I like built skill sets and I can connect with people and like
Yeah.
I don't know, just building
I
that
think, yeah,
confidence.
because here's, as you're describing it, literally what's coming to me in my head is I was like, yeah, Katie has a passport
Oh,
stamps
yeah.
of things that she's like tested and tried. And
Yeah.
you have to keep that freaking passport with you to go to the next town.
Yes.
Like you kind of need it. And so, but I think you forget your passport because you're not carrying around. But like this idea of like, wait a minute, hold on a second. I actually have a really great career and I love my life. And 2 years ago, everybody would have told me to quit. And this person would have said I should have this. And this person says I'm late about this.
Uh-huh.
Today is my life. I'm really happy. Wait, I have all the stamps to prove I made those calls. I made those decisions. I can make more decisions.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to make one. I'm going to physically make one. For any girly pops listening to this, I'm going to do a craft. I'm going to
You
make a
should do a graph.
passport of all the things that I've done that I can point back
Yes.
to then. Yeah. Oh
Because
my gosh. That is so empowering.
I just think about what you're doing and I'm like, yeah, because like however you decide next, whether it's more leadership, at the company, as OVATIVE Group grows, hunting for other opportunities, this is a bit of like, listen, I can trust myself that I go where what I want. I go to places that help me feel like I'm growing, that my life has a wake that other people are included in, and I can challenge myself to make sure I'm being all I'm capable of being.
Yeah. Yes.
And the setting of that it might be very fulfilling. It might be something completely different. And it might be a vehicle that allows you to be fulfilling in other places.
Totally. I also find a lot of comfort from, I think like the vehicle piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of comfort from Joanna Gaines' story. I read her book like years and years ago.
Yeah.
And she's obviously such a like prolific person in her field and is just very shiny and cool.
Right.
But then you read through her like past experience and like she was working in her
In
dad's
the auto parts store, wasn't she, or something?
yeah, like the most random things. And like, of course, when you're in such a cool, shiny thing that you're in now, you can look back and point to it. But I think having that confidence to know that the dots will connect, and like maybe that's my connectedness coming through. Is it's like I'm always looking for like what's the through line? What are you pulling through into the next story? And I don't know. I find a lot of like joy and gratitude in that as well. Of like, how boring would it be if everything was so straightforward and like that your life just played the way you thought it would? Like that's so,
I think even, which is why I think you're brilliant at what you do, is that understanding that any pitcher can tell multiple stories.
Oh yeah.
And so when we get locked in, we're like taking away our own freedom of going, my life is only telling one story, and this is the story, and I'm afraid of the story it's telling. You're like, no. There's multiple characters and there's multiple angles, and the stories, every pitcher can tell multiple stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, just like the imagery of that, of like, you and I were both at a museum right now looking at the same
picture. Going, oh wait, look, it's a scared person. Oh no, it's this, or it's dark outside, and like the moody setting of a photo. And I think that's the beauty of your connectedness, but also I think, to me, the reason why I wanted to have you on here is that, we've always chatted about, your deep desire to care for those you love and managing that, that sense of wanting to have the steps right and do things right. Responsibility, if you have responsibility in your top 10, like our friend Katie does, literally it describes it as people believe there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, from treating their children to loading the toilet paper roll.
Yeah.
Like, they literally, so you're just hardwired for right. Don't judge yourself. But what has been fascinating is to watch you develop a compass of courage that you then, we stumbled onto the passport comment. I've never said that before. That's for this conversation.
I love that. I'm going to run with that.
Is that you have a passport of trust that you can actually use it as a visa for new places, to really murder the metaphor. I think your connectedness and developer part of going, as we, forgive me, age, I'm 20 years older than you. Age.
You're so young, Mike.
I'm so young. But as we age, this idea of going, I can be committed to new things. I can measure my growth in new ways and trust that, because you have been so courageous in trusting your timing. I think of how many times I pressured you to make moves. I know how much family and the world pressures you to make moves. I can only imagine the internal narrative to make moves. But what has been fascinating to me is I have never once felt like you made a move a moment before you wanted to.
Wow. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
Legitimate. Katie, you should just apply for this and this and this. Katie, tell your boss you need this. You need 6 more people
out there.
That. Katie, I don't care if she's gone on maternity leave. They shouldn't have let her. So like, we've had these conversations.
Oh my God.
Starting sitting back here now, I'm going, she makes us all feel like she's listening to us, but you found the courage to do it on your timing. And that has struck me. And I think you should get credit for that, in that you inside, you're able to stay accountable to that. And it's brilliant.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. For what it's worth, I was listening. Maybe it wasn't acting, but I was listening and taking notes. You can look at all my journals.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But I just, but even what's interesting, and, I'll kind of wrap you up because your day's over and I don't want to keep you all night. But I think what is interesting with, like, even with these strengths themes, and I said this morning, I did an interview with my friend Serena, is that it's so fascinating to me that the whole idea of this conversation is that maps are dead and no one can tell you what to do, but developing a compass all your own requires the relationships around you.
Yes.
That you use
100%.
as testing your theories. You use it as testing. You know what I'm saying? And your gifts with empathy and developer and positivity are likely why your compass has actually been as solid as it's been in some ways.
Wow. Yeah.
Because you've done the work, because you're good at relationship. You're a leader of people.
Thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. Oh, I love this dot connecting. I was so excited for the Mike D party trick of telling me why I am the way that I am.
Come on. Oh, just good connectedness. It's good connectedness. You have good connectedness. I heard somebody say the other day that connectedness is so brilliant because they're like, but you don't realize nothing ever connects until you look backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Connection is backwards, not forwards.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, so remember that. Like, it's so beautiful to look back, but it's okay if it doesn't connect forward. It's not supposed to. It connects backward. Only after you go past it do you see the pattern.
Yeah. And which makes, like, I'm constantly telling myself, this will make sense. This will make sense. This will make sense. Like, through everything. And maybe it will make sense in a decade. Maybe it'll make sense in 10 days. And you just don't know, but you just hang on.
And I think that's part of the gift of the connectedness of the developer is like, if the story hasn't ended well, it hasn't ended yet.
Yep.
Was it the Alchemist years ago?
Sure did.
Was it? I don't know if the universe is conspiring in my favor.
Is that kind of like that idea? Remember, but I do.
It's something, but I say it all the time, and because I had a coach say to me years ago, and it stuck with me. That's what I think. Some of us have gifts of certain things, and that's part of the gift of your responsibility, connectedness, achiever is when you're allowed to trust yourself, your brain goes, yeah, the universe is conspiring in my favor. It'll be fine.
Yes. Is this positivity too? Is that playing into it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's that space. I'm so excited that you're in my life and you actually are leading human beings because there are kids who go home healthier. There are spouses and partners who end up living better lives because they get to interact with you because you actually care about the human being that's doing the work. And that I think makes you exceptional. So
that means a lot. That makes me happy.
Oh, Katie, thanks so much for joining us on here. And if you're following along too, and you dived in and you've heard something about a strengths theme, please drop us a message. I need you to do all the things that everybody asks you to do, like, share, 5-star reviews, all the warm, glowing comments, all that stuff. That would be really great. Will be links below to past episodes. Making a comment helps too. Like we mentioned, we are actually launching a circle community. We're going to put a link in there. First tier, the only price of admission to get this community is you have to take Clifton Strengths and Top 5. It's called the Fit Forum. And we talk about how you use your Clifton Strengths as a Rosetta Stone to find a fit in your life for your profession or purpose, your physical life, your relational life, your financial life, and your community. The Fit Forum is using Clifton Strengths to have a life that better fits. Some really great resources in there. We're going to put a link there too. But let's start there. We love and share. Katie, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Mike. I loved being here.
Lunch is on me next time we see each other. So
okay, I'm in. Can't wait.
Thanks so much for being here, everybody. See you next time.